Hello YouTube, Jerry Kirkpatrick here, and you may have noticed in the last video, Quarantine Quickie number 7, that I made the fence that goes on the back and the side of my surface plate. And you may have noticed that I left a gap. I put radiuses on both of these fences, and I left a gap, almost a ½ inch in this corner, and that's so prior to making any measurements on here, I always clean it very well. And if it's been sitting back in the shipping department for any length of time, there may be some dust or something in it. So the first thing I do is brush it off. And if this corner were closed, it would be a good place for debris to become captured. So I left this open so I could sweep this way into an open corner, or this way into an open corner, and any debris, dust, dirt, whatever it might be, I know is off of the plate. And then I can wipe it down, usually with one of the soft cloths, and then clean it with either alcohol or usually lacquer thinner. So that tells you why I left this gap in the back here. And so the body of this particular video is going to be finding out what we have in the drawers in the toolbox that the surface plate is sitting on. So let's get the cameras switched around and we'll go through them. Oh yeah, I forgot. I have one of these. It has a chain and a knob, and I doubt you've ever seen one before. And I keep it down in drawer number 5. So when we get to 5, I'll show you what it is and how it works. Okay, so here is drawer number 1, and the first thing we have is angle gauges. This is a pretty complete set in that it starts from a 1/4 degree and a 1/2 degree all the way up to 45 degrees. So putting any of these combinations together, you can come up with almost any angle that you might desire. Next, these are height gauges. You got 2 number 1s. You got 50, 60, 70 thousandths, quite a range. And you can also, with these set screws, you can screw them together almost exactly like belling Joe blocks. You can set any combination just like your angle gauges. Because of the variation in the different ones, you can come up with any combination. Here is 0.101, 0.6250, 16th inch, 100 thousandths. So by putting together different combinations, you can come up with almost any height that you want to set your height gauge. Back here are adjustable parallels. That one doesn't move. Yeah, here we go. That'll move. I've got them tightened down so they don't slide around in the box. You can adjust these to any height you want. They are excellent for taking inside measurements. You can set a set of the blocks, put a couple of pieces of bar stock on each side, open these up until you reach the exact size, then you can measure across here and compare that to the piece that you're either milling or turning on the lathe. Here are a set of really cheap parallels. I use these mainly on the welding table when I'm setting up. If I have a specific space that I want between two pieces, then I can weld or tack the first piece in, set up a set of these parallels so I know that they're the right distance and equidistance apart, make the second clamp, and then remove these and do my tacking or welding. And then here are my good parallels from 1/2 inch all the way up to 1.5 inches. So these come in handy quite a bit, and I take real good care of those. I don't let anything get on any of these surfaces. So there we have drawer number 1. Drawer number 2 is pretty diverse. I have my radius gauges. I've had those, as you can see, I probably got those back in the 50s when I was working for Kellogg Engineering. One, two, three blocks that can be bolted together in any combination, end to end, like so, sideways, back to back. So these are very useful in setting up different heights. They're fairly precision, so I can use these either 1, 2, or 3, and then go back to my height gauges and pick up any height that I want to set my height gauge. This is my electronic digital caliper. I very seldom use them. I've been using either a set of veneers or dial calipers for so long. These are, I don't know, I just don't use them that often. About the only time I'll use them when I want to convert from fractional to metric. This set of parallel machinist clamps. There's a set of larger ones that I have a piece of aluminum in there, clamped them down so they just stay together. They're not moving all over the place. These are collet blocks, both square and hex. So you can put a collet in here and tighten it up. This is a quick clamp that screws right on the back. Move the handle, tightens the collet, and then you can put either a square or a hex on any piece of bar stock. And then I have straight edges all the way from 6" all the way up to 16 inches. So that completes drawer number 2. Drawer number 3 is a bunch of my precision tools. Here are the surface plate height gauge pieces, all types of adapters, a small Noga, a large Noga. This is a neat little camera mount for a Noga camera mount that I can use on a stand. An adapter I made that will go. This one's pretty neat because it's got a quick disconnect. Well, not too quick apparently. Goes right in there. And then that will snap back onto the camera mount. And then I can use my telephone for making videos, and that'll go in any direction. And the Noga, as you know, it will move anywhere you want it to. And here is a plate that I've made that's pretty universal. I can use that on the Noga, and then I can put any camera or lights or anything else that I want on that piece. It's just a handy piece to have in the drawer. This is a flexible arm, and this is the piece that came with it. And what I did was I took this end, drilled and tapped it for a 1/4-20, and I can actually screw this right down into my surface plate. And then by using one of these adapters and one of the pieces of bar stock here, I can set up any gauge. Some of the adapters I've made, this one is for putting a green lens, so if I'm videoing some welding or brazing. This one I can put in one of these holders and then clamp anything I want to that, like a card or whatever. I don't use that very often. If I were to use it more often, I would make this into a steel pony clamp. But I just wanted to make it, see how often I used it, and I don't use it that much, so I haven't had the need to make a good one with a pony clamp. There's another adapter for the camera, a longer adapter for the camera. Adjustable, this one is real nice, working on the surface plate. I can put this on, set up my height gauges with the indicator or a small dial indicator on there, and then I can adjust it right into 0. And then I can start measuring other pieces. And then these are all adapters that I've made for mounting the camera on one of these Nogas. I can fit almost anything with one of these different adapters. This one is kind of neat because it fits in there. So that might be a piece, if you do videos, that might be a piece you want to make. And then, where is it over here? Yeah, here. This is a real easy way of reducing from one of your smaller, if you have a smaller piece of bar stock and you want to put it in a large clamp, just drill, turn the outside to the right diameter, and then cut it in half. That way you can space down to any size you want. So that takes care of drawer number 3. Let's go to number 4. Okay, here we are at drawer number 4. The first thing is just a micrometer. Standard cheapo micrometer. I don't use it very often. I use mainly dial indicator, dial calipers. So it's handy, but I don't use it very often. This is a block that I use that I can put on the back of any piece that I'm trying to mill, and then I drill the holes in it. If I want a hex, I can bolt that on, put a level across here, and make my first mill. Take a pin out, put it to the next one, put a level on here, mill that. And by using this, I just use double-sided tape to glue this on the back of any piece. And I can put any hole pattern in here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, doesn't matter. But if your hole pattern is correct, you've got this double-sided tape to the back side of your piece. You can just keep moving these pins, put a level across them, and you can pick up any angle you want. This is the very first vernier calipers I had. I got these probably back in 58, I would think, 57 or 58. Still in high school, but I worked at the machine shop every summer for several years. So just an old pair of calipers. I ought to take care of those. Probably won't. Here's an adapter I made for measuring inside. You set up a dial indicator on one side, and then you can stick this in a hole and get a dimension. Pretty neat little adapter. This was a pin, but I wanted to bolt this to another fixture, so I just unscrewed the back, brazed on this lug with a hole in it, and now I can use a bolt, a number 10 screw, and hold that right on the machine and then turn. What I use is like a Noga, but I just move it out of the way and then bring it back to a stop, and then I can take a dimension on the lathe. That's a pretty neat piece there. It ain't brand new, but still works. In here is nothing. I've got my 2-inch reach dial indicator that stays on my lathe. There's a quite precision. This is what is used mainly on the surface plate for checking heights. I can set up my height gauge with this, with those Joe blocks. This is probably the first dial indicator, a Lufkin, that I ever got. And I still use this one quite often. When I need a dial indicator, this is the one that I wind up with. You can see the ends, and then here are all the different types. Spring-loaded, long reach, a little button for checking threads. Anyhow, that's pretty complete. There's only one hole missing, and it might be the one that's on there now. Here is a very nervous machinist level. I would defy you to keep that in between the lines. This thing is unbelievably accurate and level. And this is as you can see, a combination set that has never been out of the wrapper. I bought it, well, the old combination square that I had used on my welding table for years and years and years, finally got to a point where it was looking pretty bad. So I went out and bought a brand new Michitoyo combination square, got it home, looked at it, it looked so nice, I just put the lid on it and put it away. I'm still using the same combination square that I wanted to stop using probably 20 or 30 years ago. So there's drawer number 4, drawer number 5. Here we have V-blocks with the clamps, and these are used primarily for checking round stock, and they can be put together in series if necessary, or with a piece of all thread I can move these as far apart as I want. This is a squaring piece. I can put this on my surface plate. I've got to get it cleaned up quite a bit, but I can set this on my surface plate and then check for square. This thing is just perfect. It's actually a Caterpillar piston pin, but it's very true. This is the first set of parallels I made probably back in the 80s or so. This is just a piece of angle iron, but it has been milled on both sides, and this is very square. So I can hold this in my vise on the mill, and then I can clamp something on here, and I know that it's perpendicular to the face of the mill. Here's a pallet, drilled and tapped, 1/4-20 all over the place, so I can use this for a quick clamp. I can put this in the vise in the mill, use a quick clamp. That's what I did here. These 4 are for one of those small quick clamps, and then put a piece here, and then using any of the combination of these bolt holes, I can put a stop, so I can do multiple parts and just use a quick clamp to hold them down. This back here is just a heavy plate. I can clamp this and I can drill through this hole here and then bolt whatever I want down to, bolt or clamp whatever I want down to this. This is just a parallel plate that allows me to drill right through it into, so I don't hit the vise or anything that might be hanging down under the part. And then here is a jack. This thing is really neat. It's chain driven, and there's a right and a left hand screw there. So as you turn, it opens or closes. And this is used quite a bit on the mill. So if I have a long piece that I'm going to be milling, say I'm putting a hex on the end of a piece of bar stock, I can put the piece in the vise, slide this all the way out to the end of the mill table, and then adjust this until it's supporting that piece, just touches, and that way I can move the piece into a hex and I know that I've got a level surface. So that's a pretty neat piece you probably don't see ever. Okay, so that's 5 drawers. So that took a little bit longer than was anticipated, but I think it was worth taking a look through all of the drawers under the surface plate. And I think what I'm going to do in the next 2 videos, it'll be Quarantine Quickie number 9 and number 10. For number 9, the next one will be a tour through my top box, and then 10 will be a tour of my bottom box. And touring a toolbox doesn't sound very exciting, but I think you'll enjoy both of these next 2 videos, in that in both of these boxes you'll see tools that you've probably never seen before, for 2 reasons. One is I've had a very diverse career, if that's what you want to call it, that are specific to some of the jobs that I've done. And the next is a lot of the tools that you will see in both the top and bottom box are tools that I've made specifically for a certain job. And as you know me, if I have a job and I can't find the tool to do it exactly the way that I desire to do it, I'll just stop and go ahead and make my own tools. So those 2 will be coming out shortly, I would hope. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. See you later.